Today, I'm going to provide a secondary preview video to Palantir's upcoming Q4 earnings report. I'll go over analyst expectations, the effect of the lockup expiration, questions for the Q&A portion of the call, and my price target going forward. The stock had a rough week, down 16%. I'll comment on that towards the end of the video. And just as a reminder, Palantir's Q4 results will be released on Tuesday, February 16th, prior to the open of the market. The company will then host a conference call to discuss its results at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, which I will be live streaming. We've got a lot to get through in this PLTR update video. Let's go. Analyst expectations. The consensus EPS estimate is 2 cents and the consensus revenue estimate is $301.07 million. Over the last 3 months, EPS estimates have seen 1 upward revision and 1 downward. Revenue estimates have seen 4 upward revisions and no downward revisions. Way back before anyone really cared about the company, I made a forecast on HyperCharts following Palantir's Q3 2020 earnings report, calling for roughly $300 million in revenue, along with some other ballpark estimates. And that was on November 13th. My point is that this was before all the news about the many new contracts and partnerships, such as that with IBM. To put it plainly, I think Palantir is set up to crush the revenue estimates here. That being said, since this is a long-term investing channel, it is important to clarify that quarterly results are arguably meaningless in the grand scheme of a business's future. As long as PLTR reiterates strong future growth, I couldn't care less if they beat or miss some short-term target set by some Wall Street analyst. But considering Palantir did roughly $289 million in revenue in Q3 of 2020, and that analysts are projecting for Q4 revenue of approximately $300 million, that would be a measly quarter-over-quarter growth rate of less than 4%. I would be shocked if PLTR did anything less than 5%, and even then they would have some explaining to do. Therefore, I'm raising my revenue target to $318 million, double digits quarter-over-quarter growth. Let me know what your estimate is. Am I way off here, or is Palantir set to destroy the consensus once again? The lockup. It's almost time for this discussion to be behind us. As of my best understanding, the insider share lockup does not expire until the 3 trading days after the Q4 earnings report, which is February 18th. I had previously had the date as the 19th, but since Palantir is now reporting before the bell on February 16th, I need to make this correction. Here's a helpful Reddit post on r/PLTR explaining the situation. February 16th is the first trading day following the disclosure of Palantir's 2020 financial results. February 17th is the second trading day following the disclosure of Palantir's 2020 financial results. And February 18th is the third trading day following the disclosure of Palantir's 2020 financial results, and the shares will be unlocked at market open. Now, in terms of what will happen here, it's really difficult to predict, but once and for all, here is what I think will happen in the following order of events. So Monday, February 15th, the stock market is closed. So we actually have no more PLTR trading until 4 a.m. on Tuesday, February 16th, which would just be hours before Palantir releases their results. So in the pre-market on Tuesday, I predict that Palantir stock jumps on a potential earnings beat. The stock maybe goes up to, let's say, $35 per share. And then regular trading on Tuesday and Wednesday, which would be February 17th. I think PLTR will face some turbulence, but trade between $33 and $38 per share. And then on Thursday, February 18th, I think Palantir stock will temporarily weaken to under $30 per share, with the inevitable and expected selling from the lockup that we've been talking so much about over the last many months. And finally, February 19th, which would be Friday, I think the stock will recover and trade between $30 and $35, then continue to rise over the following trading days and approach an all-time high as the selling tails off and the analysts get a chance to think deeply about the implications of PLTR's Q4. Those are my detailed predictions, and arguably I'm taking a risk by putting them out there. Ultimately, it'll be fun to see how it all plays out. I anticipate the majority of you disagree on all of the above, so leave your own predictions below. I do think it's a little naive to assume the entirety of the lockup expiration is priced in, or, on the other hand, that the stock will fall to $15. You'll notice I'm in the middle, expecting an exciting week for PLTR ahead of us. Q&A with Say. Austin, an employee from a fintech company called Say that aims to bring investors closer to their investments and previously worked with Tesla, reached out to me a few days ago. He shared that Say has been working with Palantir's investor relations department to be more inclusive towards the retail investor community. The news is that Palantir will be using the Say platform for their upcoming Q4 2020 earnings call on February 16th. The official press release is linked in the description, along with another link giving more information about Say and how these events work. Now I'm going to overview the Q&A where any shareholder can ask questions for CEO Aleksandrs and the Palantir management team to answer during the call. As luck would have it, I already had questions prepared from my last earnings preview video and submitted those as the first questions. How this has worked with Tesla in the past is that they take the top 5 questions and answer those as long as management has not already addressed the substance of those questions in the earnings slide deck or opening comments on the conference call. So let's have a look at the top 5, and you still have time to both vote and add your own questions if you so desire. Number 1, Eric asks, quote, with the partnership recently announced with IBM, I believe sales at the enterprise level will increase greatly. Will Foundry be the main software used? And finally, does Palantir have plans to create a more scaled down version to serve small to medium-sized businesses? So I think this is a great question because it should push them on their ability to answer what the future holds for the expansion of Foundry to being more accessible to smaller businesses. Number 2, Evgen asks, quote, while IBM announcement is great, their public cloud share is minuscule. Can you commit to expanding managed offerings to other public cloud providers such as Microsoft Azure, Amazon AWS, Google Cloud? I'd love to hear what they have to say about going after the big fish, but the IBM partnership is nevertheless something to be proud of. Number 3, my first question, quote, in terms of profitability, where does Palantir expect to achieve a level where it can repeatedly and continually achieve profitability? Does PLTR need to hit the targeted 6,000 Foundry clients along with other revenue sources from other platforms to become meaningfully profitable? Personally, I think it is crucial that they put a rough timeline on profitability, and I look forward to seeing what they have to say on this front. Number 4, Brian asks, quote, please speak to new products that are still in the R&D phase and what their high-level purpose is so investors can get a sense of the next avenue of products 5 to 10 years from now. Unfortunately, I don't think this will get much of a good response since they won't be commenting on future products, but it could perhaps elicit some high-level talk about Palantir's place in the market, which would be great to analyze. Number 5, my second question, quote, Palantir is guiding for double-digit percentage growth this year. Can PLTR sustain such a compound growth rate, barring any unforeseen negative economic impacts, or should investors expect choppy yearly growth numbers? Can you comment on a long-term expected growth rate? I think Palantir should put out rough guidelines for its growth going forward if possible. I think all of these top 5 questions are great coming from the retail community, and I hope they all get answered to their fullest. Price target. I talked a lot about a hypothetical earnings beat, followed by some brief weakness with the upcoming lockup expiration. I'm not at all instructing you to buy or sell, as I'm not a financial advisor, nor certain on any or all of my predictions, but I think Palantir will continue its upward trajectory in the weeks following the report and recover some of the losses incurred this past week from fear of the aforementioned expiration. I think if I had to pick a price target, we'd see $40 in the near future. Please know that I'm not selling, just holding throughout the next week. Trade, if you plan to do so, responsibly. I'd appreciate a like if you found this video useful, and subscribe if you want to experience PLTR's Q4 earnings live with the chat active, as I did with the Q3 conference call. Now check out my previous Q4 earnings preview if you missed that. Until next time.